Hi, it's Margaret, and thank you for joining me here on this beautiful day on the Gardening Me. Today, I am doing some front yard cleanup. I actually should have done this a little while ago, but I was busy doing some backyard cleanup that I thought was a little bit more urgent. So I haven't gotten to this until now, and there are a few things that are coming up, and it's going to be, just that little bit more tedious to cut everything back, but I'm sure it'll be fine. I am standing in my driveway bed, and there's actually not a lot to do in this particular bed. It's primarily hellebore foliage that I'll be dealing with. Then I am going to go over to my walkway area, and there's a lot more to clean up there. So here is the driveway bed, and I have a few things blooming right now, such as this gorgeous hellebore right here. This area is primarily planted up with hostas, but none of those are peeking out yet. So right now it's just bulbs and a few early spring plants that are coming up. So I am going to start here, and this is a new hydrangea that I just put in last year, and it is a smooth hydrangea, and I put this one in later in the year, and for this, I'm actually just going to cut it down to some nice thick buds. I'm not going to cut it down hardly at all because it is still a baby, really. This particular hydrangea is actually a dwarf hydrangea, so I'm just cutting off kind of the dried tips here, and I think that's about it. There's another bit down here I'm gonna cut off, and this is pretty dead looking there and there, and I think that's it. I'm gonna leave it. Easy peasy. Now I'm going to move over here and do this hellebore. This is also a new hellebore that just came into the garden last year. It's called Shotgun Wedding. There are a few blooms on it. They're just starting to open now. So just getting rid of that tattered foliage. So here's another one that I got last year. It's on the other side of this rock. And again, I mean, look at how big this leaf is. It's huge. So getting rid of all those old leaves. I also have my weed bucket here, and if I'm seeing a weed, or in this case I see a bit of grass in here, I'm just going to deal with that now while it's still small. I have this little tiny tuft of Hakinakloa that I put here just to test it out to see how well it does in this spot. And if it does well, I'm going to get more and kind of have a nice mound in here. I think I'm going to go through this bed and just deal with all of the hellebore foliage first. So here we have a heuchera. I do see some fresh new leaves in there. So it's a little bit tedious cutting these here, these older ones, with all the other leaves in there as well. So just going to do my best. Now this guy here, I can actually barely see it. Has a little tuft in the middle there. So I think most of these can be cut off around here, but I'm just going to leave that tuft. We do get quite a few branches dropping off the tree over the winter, so I'm just going to be cleaning those up as well. I don't... Oh, I do see a little bit of new foliage right in the middle there. So for this one, I'm actually just going to cut it all the way back. I do have some pulmonaria coming up in there. That is such a cute one. It's called Little Star. And I have this other one that's actually flowering right now, and it's called Red Start. This one I actually had in another area in the border, but it seemed to be getting a little bit chlorotic, and I thought maybe the spot that I had it in wasn't the best, so I moved it, and we'll see how it does here. Most of the hosta leaves in this area have basically disintegrated into nothing, but there are still a few where I have some leaves left, and I also have some flower stalks left, so getting rid of those. So the last thing that I'm going to be cutting back is this guy. And this is kind of a weird situation. This is a carex called Ribbon Falls that I planted last fall. And I covered it with straw because it is a zone 6 plant. And I actually uncovered it, like I took the straw off a few days ago. And it looked awesome. It looked really good. And now, though, a few days later, and we really haven't been that cold or gotten any heavy frosts or anything like that, it's sort of dried out, and I'm not sure what is going on with it. I do see some green growth in here, so I'm hoping that, it's okay, it'll come back. It may have heaved a little bit. It seems a little bit like it's not as flush with the ground as I think it should be. So I think what I might do is, after I cut everything back, I'll come back here and just add some mulch to kind of cover up that bottom bit there, or maybe even add some compost. You know what? That's what I think I'll do. I'll add some compost around here and see what happens. I think I'm just going to cut all of this off. Oh, you can see some of the beautiful leaves under here. And hopefully it'll come back strong as the weather gets warmer. So I'm not cutting it all the way back. I'm leaving a little ball almost, because like I said, I do still see some nice green growth in there and kind of want to keep as much as I can. And we'll see what happens. So here we are. I am all done the driveway bed. It really didn't take very long. And it's looking a lot better. I mean, it's not a dramatic difference, but it's a difference enough where I can see it and kind of feel satisfied about it. And down there you can actually see the pile of branches that I picked up. There are still a bunch probably here and there throughout, but I think that's good enough. This area needs a good mulching, I think, this year. So the next area I'm doing is this here, and this is along our walkway. And as you can see, here is a sedum, and look at all that growth already coming out the bottom. I'm a little bit late. There is a Veronica there that I have to deal with the stems on, and then some salvias over here. All of these are very young plants, so there's really not a whole lot to do in terms of cleanup, but you know, just a little. And over here are some clematis, and these are not the climbing type. These are the bush, I guess, type of clematis. So I have to cut back all those stems. And then we come over here where we have a lot of hosta stems, a ton of hellebores. Their foliage needs to be cut back. A lot of hosta foliage down there, as well as more sedums. And as we kind of move on down, there are some more hellebores. There is a thunderbolt honeysuckle, and this again is a zone 6 plant, but I've been able to overwinter it in my garden for the last, since before COVID. I think I got this one in 2019. And in the last couple of years, I've been covering it with straw in the winter. And what that's done is it's allowed it to maintain that green foliage. Before I started doing that, the foliage basically all died over the winter. So it has worked really well. And this year, I mean, even the foliage that's sticking out of the straw is still green. So that's pretty awesome. And a lot of ladies' mantle here. You can see the green growth is already starting to come up here in the middle. So I have to kind of work around that. That's kind of why I hate doing things late like this, or, you know, a little bit later than normal, because working around that foliage, it's a little bit of a pain. And yeah, and then we have, this is some rudbeckia and echinacea in that area there. Here is a hydrangea, a bobo hydrangea. That is a baby still. This one went in, I don't know, I'm thinking last year maybe the year before that. And a nepeta here, Junior Walker, which is a nepeta that I put in last year. This area actually used to have, if you kind of look back here, a huge juniper. So you see this ridiculous juniper right here. This, again, original to the house. There used to be another one similar but smaller in this area, and I basically cut it all back. I'm not sure how I'm going to deal with the stump I have there, and I'm thinking I might just hide it with plants, because the thought of digging that up is not appealing. Let's take a quick peek on the other side of the walkway, and over here we have a bunch of heuchera that, quite frankly, look amazing. They don't really need that much cleanup, and some hellebores, which again look amazing. I guess this must be a much more protected area or something, because that foliage does not look like it needs to come off, and I think I'm just going to leave it as is. That there is a new variety that I purchased last year as well, and I can't recall. Let me see what my little label says. Molly's White is this one. Oh, look at that gorgeous green in there. So pretty. So in this area here, this is almost all hostas, almost all. There is a Vegas Nights hellebore over here, as well as an astilbe, and that's about it. I don't even see any flower stems other than that one over there for the hostas. Then this area here has some pulmonaria, has rudbeckia, it has bleeding hearts. These are original to the house. They're just starting to come up. And yeah, I think it has a bunch of Brunera in here, things like that. And now, once again, that gorgeous heuchera. My goodness, it's looking so nice. And here is another one. This bed, again, as well as the last one we just looked at, have a lot of hostas in it, so nothing's come up yet on those. This here is a Brunera, and it's Queen of Hearts, I believe. So all that has to get cleaned up, and then we have a few little heuchera that don't look like they're doing the best over here. And then just moving past here, We have another Brunera here, sterling silver, that needs to be cleaned up. And yeah, that basically looks to be about it. This sedum has not started to grow yet, so I can just come in here and hack it back. I can't recall what variety this is, but it's one of those low kind of creeping ones. Oh, I do see some starting to come up here. Oh, another twig right there. Oh, here. You can see that green coming up. Here I have some stackies. This is little lamb that I got last year. And I see some new growth down here, so I'm just going to get rid of all of these old stems. Being careful not to get that new growth. I'm super excited to see what this one does this year. Oh, look, it was covering up my little label. Which is kind of the point. I always put these labels in at the back because I don't really want to see them. But if I'm ever out here, I'm like, oh, what variety is that? I do want to be able to tell what variety that is. Here's just some Veronica. Over here, I have some Calamintha, and these are ones that I grew from seed, and I'm really hoping that they bulk up this year. The hellebores in this area here are ones that are much more established than the other ones underneath the tree by the driveway. They are just beautiful. But I have to be really careful not to accidentally clip off any of these flowers. This shrub here is a 9-bark. Now you can see that some of the branches are kind of low and they're kind of spreading out from the clump. I prefer, when it comes to this particular shrub right by the walkway, for it to have more of a vase shape and all of the branches come straight up out of the ground and not kind of splay out. So I'm going to take this opportunity before the shrub leaves out to get rid of all of those stems that are too horizontal. Okay, so now we're going to do the reveal. What is underneath the straw for this Thunderbolt honeysuckle? Now I'm putting the straw in a bag because I do reuse it from year to year on things like this, as well as I put it in my garlic bed. So far, so good. Okay, it looks not too bad. Not too bad at all. It could use a little bit of a trim, I think, but otherwise, there's one branch here that's a little tiny bit defoliated on the bottom here, but yeah, otherwise it's looking really quite good. This branch is super long. It's probably, I don't know, maybe 3 feet long. So I think I will cut that back because there are other things growing in that area too. I think there's a host and stuff like that. So I'll probably just cut it back to here. But otherwise, I'm going to leave it and then tidy it up once it really gets growing. Now we're on to the lady's mantle. This is a goat's beard. It's like a little dwarf goat's beard that has a very ferny kind of appearance. Oh, I can already see the little ferny leaves coming out. I'm really hoping that I can spread this lady's mantle around. I'm hoping I get some seedlings this year popping up. Okay, so here we have the Junior Walker Nepeta. Good hack on that because nothing on it is growing quite yet. This is Bobo, which is a paniculata, but I don't see anything budding out yet. We here are kind of on the north side of the house, so it's a cooler area, although this spot here does get sun for a good chunk of kind of mid-morning to mid-afternoon, especially in early summer all the way to fall when the sun is higher in the sky. Right now it doesn't get as much sun, and I'm thinking that's why it hasn't budded out yet. And I generally like to see where the buds are so I can cut it down to like a really nice set of buds. And I do not see that here. So I'm actually just going to leave this, and I will come back to it in another week or two when I do see those buds. Okay, other than that, there's really not much else to do in this bed except a few stalks from the hosta. Okay, so here is the bed beside our front steps. Don't really need to do a lot to this either. Just clean out this Brunner hair. In fact, I'm going to get my gloves for this because Brunnera and especially Pulmonaria sometimes have these little kind of fine prickles on them. And if I get them on my hands, it doesn't feel that good. Okay, here we go. Oh, look! A pair of my glasses. Yeah, I think these are garbage. You never know what you're going to find when you clean up your beds. I don't know about you, but whenever I clean up my beds, I always find like little bits of garbage as well. So I usually carry a pail with me to put that in. I mean, like that. This Pulmonaria, I'm just kind of cutting it just above where I see new leaves coming in, more or less. And those leaves will easily overtake whatever's left of the old leaves. This is a pretty big plant when it gets going. These heuchera, I think I'm going to take out some of the older outer leaves here and just leave that middle bit and see how that works out. Now, these are the heuchera that I divided way back, and I received a few comments saying that because these were planted right near arborvitae, well, essentially right beside arborvitae, and the arborvitae have very intensive root systems, that they may not do as well because of that. And I kind of agree with that. I think that they would do a lot better in a different spot. So I'm actually thinking that I may move some of these into another spot that doesn't have that root competition from the arbs. And this bed here really needs hardly anything, just a couple of stems from some hosta and this Brunnera here. Whoops. You have to be careful when cutting around drip line that you don't cut the drip line. Okay, we're last but not least. This is the last bed to do. Okay, and we are done, finally. On the video, this will be probably, I don't know, 30, 40 minutes, but in real life, it's been about 2.5 hours. So let me just give you a little tour here of the front walkway bed now after everything has been cut down. Look at the beautiful hellebores. Oh, so gorgeous. I do still have cleanup to do, as you can see right there. But I'm going to do that after. And oh, I just noticed something I didn't do. I didn't cut back the stems on the geranium. I'm going to come back and do that when I do my cleanup. That shouldn't take long. This was the one bed here that took literally, what, a minute? Maybe a minute and a half? There was hardly anything to do in it because it's all hostas. I did mulch over the drip tubing, and I'm just noticing that it is still coming out above the mulch, so I'm gonna have to kind of tweak that there and bury it a little bit, I think. This heuchera here, look how beautiful that is. I did nothing to it because it looks too good. So that one I just left as is. I also left this one as is too. I think this one is called Marmalade. And yeah, this one I just left because it's still looking good. These here are right under that really big arb that's at the entrance of the walkway. I should not have planted them underneath it because, yeah, I mean, where are you going to get more root competition than there? Probably nowhere. And here we are back at the beginning. A little bit more cleanup there. And that's basically it. So it is dinner time. So I'm gonna have to go in and make some dinner. And after that, I'm gonna come in, do all the cleanup, and then we just have to wait for all that amazing growth to start, because once it starts, it's like an explosion. I can't wait. Anyway, thank you so much for joining me today, and we'll see you next time. Bye.